All right, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start by giving infinite honors and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harachak Wadash. That's the Heavenly Father and His Son by their true Hebrew names, and which you so-called Native Americans, Latinos, and Negroes must call on to be saved. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well and are worthy of their double honors. Peace and blessing to you, Aki, and pushing out this truth across the four corners during these last seconds of time. All right, and this lesson is going to be entitled, Modern Humanity is enslaved by emotions and senses. Modern humanity is enslaved by emotions and senses. Lord willing, this message be edifying. All right, and emotions and senses is what enslaves modern humanity. By emotions and senses, meaning physical pleasures, things that you can actually see, tangible things, corporeal things, all right? But ultimately, the things that capture the men of the Lord are spiritual things, all right? Not things that we can actually touch, feel, see, all right? Things that come with the flesh. So this is a quote here by Juvenile. It says, "Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt." Right? And bread and circuses could be synonymous with things that you can physically touch, feel, all right? Entertainment, okay? And that's what the society is fueled by. And the inhabitants thereof have become enslaved to emotions and senses, all right? Their only mindset is towards things that they can actually get a visual from, or actually feel, experience, or be entertained by, things that tickle their fancy, so to speak. All right. And ultimately, the men of the Lord are promoted and driven by the spiritual things. All right. So this is 1 Peter 4:1. It says, "For as much then as a Mashiach hath suffered for us in the flesh, arm yourselves likewise with the same mind. For he that had suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin." So we suffer in the flesh to sin less. And that means ultimately, instead of giving in to our fleshly needs or our fleshly wants, we give in to the spiritual things. All right? The scriptures, the brotherhood, your neighbors, fruits of the spirit, like it goes into in Galatians, the 5th chapter. Those are the things that we're ultimately occupied in, not the bread and circuses of this world, not emotions and senses. We're driven by the spirit. All right, it says, "For he that has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin," because you're ultimately always going to have temptations, tests before you. 1 Corinthians 10:13 says that the temptation that we face is common unto us. But with that temptation, the Lord shall make a way for us to escape. So we ultimately always have this word as our surety, as our insurance plan to back us up and guide us in this cesspool of a society that we live in, where the powers that be entertain the society with bread and circus. But there are bigger prophecies and judgments that are ultimately looming in this place. So while you're entertained by bread and circus, laws are being passed, decrees are being issued, violence is raising, uproars of the people. The Lord is setting a variance in these homes. The city of confusion is ultimately being broken down. But when all of these things are transpiring, are we ultimately driven by our emotions and our senses, or are we driven by the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shem Shai, which is ultimately logic, right? From the scriptures comes logic, because in this society, logic that is pushed in this society is not true logic according to the scriptures. So it says, verse 2, that he no longer should live the rest of his time in the flesh to the lust of men, but to the will of God, our power. That's right, the will of the Heavenly Father through His Son, Yahweh by Shem Shai. So although we're physically here in this society, we're not spiritually here. And although we're physically here, we're not giving ourselves over to the physical of the society, because this society runs on physical carnality, things you can see, senses, emotions. Let's get that word, senses. Okay, there's another quote. Before I get that word senses, I look here. There's another quote. It says, I'm gonna read it over again. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt. Decimus Eunice Juvenile, known in English as Juvenile, it says, the evil was not in bread and circuses per se, but in the willingness of the people to sell their rights as free men for full bellies, and the excitement of the games, which would serve to distract them from the other human hungers, which bread and circuses can never appease. Ooh, that's heavy. A quote by Marcus Tullius Cicero. All right, and that's some heavy spiritual truth to that. Okay, because that trickles over to the dynamics of this current society we live in. All right, modern humanity, they're driven by emotions and senses. Let's get that word senses really quick. That word senses, it says from the online etymology, one's mental faculties. It says conscious cognitive powers. It says sanity. And here's the point. It says meaning faculties of physical sensation. You see? Faculties of physical sensation. So things that you could actually please your flesh with. Eating, drinking, sex, entertainment, bread and circus. All right. And this was ultimately rampant throughout ancient Rome, in which they used this to distract the people, in which the men that were quote unquote powerful exchanged that power for full bellies. All right. And that's ultimately from the elites of the society on down to the rest of the heathen nations that, according to Psalms 83rd chapter, come against the children of Israel to cut them off from being a nation with these type of tactics: bread and circus, propaganda, all right, smoke and mirrors, political theater. All these things are used to, like it says in this quote, let's go back. It says, the evil was not in bread and circuses per se, but in the willingness of the people to sell their rights as free men for full bellies, and the excitement of the games, which would serve to distract them from the other human hungers, which bread and circuses can never appease. That's right. So it was only a mere band-aid on a tumor. So when you put a band-aid on a tumor, you're not repairing that wound at all. All right. And that's ultimately bread and circus, what it does to the people. It's only a false mirage of a physical sensation. And that's what this society is driven by. Emotions and senses, like it said. Let's go back. It says faculties of physical sensation. Food can give you that. Drinking can give you that. Sex. All right. Visual pleasures. All right. That's not fruits of the spirit, though. Fruits of the spirit, like it tells you in Galatians, the 5th chapter. All right. Let's go to it real quick. Fruits of the spirit are spiritual, man. Fruits of the lust of the flesh come from physical wants from the world, man, from the society, man. Because this society wasn't set up the way it was. All right, these physical lusts, all right, and these senses and emotions will be null and void, man, in this society. So let's get it real quick. And bear with me, Akim. I'm in transit. Just getting this lesson in through the Spirit and Power Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This is Galatians 5, all right? And I started 17. For the flesh lusted against the spirit. So like, I started 16. This I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. That's right, the senses, the emotions. It says, for the flesh lusted against the spirit. You see, so you got a versus battle going on. You got the flesh versus the spirit, all right? And the flesh is giving all its tracks. It's spitting out all its number one song, so to speak, like in these versus battles, if you get the the comparison, because in a versus battle they'll have a rapper or a singer against another singer, and they'll come with their best hits to see who won. So the flesh goes at the spirit like that. The flesh is giving you its best sales pitch of why you should live in the flesh, why you should appease your senses and emotions. And the spirit is giving you the best sales pitch, which is the ultimate right sales pitch, which is the only sales pitch to overcome the flesh. All right, but the flesh doesn't want you to know that. So like it says, Galatians 5:16, this I say then, walk in the spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusted against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to the one to the other, so that ye cannot do the things that ye would. That's right. So it throws off your balance. The flesh is always going at the spirit to try to throw you off, so you can't do the works of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So you can't do the will of the Father. So you can't operate in the fruits of the spirit, right? And that's this society in general. That's why the society is likened unto the zombie land. It's likened unto the Matrix, all right? Because it's known in the scriptures as Babylon, Babal, confusion, all right? And it tells you in Isaiah, surely your works have been esteemed as the potter's clay and been turned upside down, Esau, Edom, all right? And that's what the Lord is doing on the planet Earth. And he's revealing this unto the prophets, and the lost sheep of the house of Israel are waking up. And not only that, but the vibration on the planet Earth is stirring up the inhabitants through the Spirit of the Lord. And the people, they're revolting against this system due to these different tactics: bread and circus, political theater, smoke and mirrors, all right, propagandas, these different things, man, all right? And their emotions and senses are not enough, all right? They need answers. So it says, verse 18, but if ye be led of the Spirit, ye are not under the law. And like Yahushua said, do we make void the law? No, Yahushua came to fulfill the law, all right, through the Heavenly Father, through his Son, all right, through faith. So we keep the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability through faith in Yahushua, who ultimately overcame the flesh and kept the law, statutes, and commandments completely in the flesh. So we strive to be in that likeness, in the image of Yahushua, and it comes with taking on the fruits of the Spirit. So it says, verse 19, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies. And those are things of the world, man. This is literally hell, man. All right? It says, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such likes, of the which I tell you before, as I have told you also, I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of our power. That's right. And that's why this society, America, is going to be turned to a lake of fire. All right? It's going to be known as, well, it is hell, but it's going to be turned to a lake of fire, man. All right? A desolate wilderness due to these different things that are read: envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, all right? Emotions and senses. The Lord is going to do away with those things in the earth and ultimately replace it with ambassadors of the Lord, starting with Yahushua, Isaiah 9:6. Now here it goes, verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And they that are Yahushua Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vainglory, provoking one another, envying one another. That's right. So we've crucified the flesh through the word, which is Yahushua, all right? Which is rehearsing the righteous acts, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability, even though we fall short amongst this perverse nation, all right? Even though the society is driven by emotions and senses, we're driven by the Spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and walking thereby. So Lord willing, this message was edifying. All right, I'm going to give infinite honors and praises to Yahweh B'Hashem, Yahushai B'Hashem, Harachak Wadash. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and the elders, great millstone. Peace and blessings until next time. Kwam Yashala. Shalom.